Hi there, I'm Phil Lipoff. We want to get right to our top story. We have major developments in the war in Ukraine. President Biden has authorized Ukraine to use long-range missiles inside Russia. Officials are telling ABC News at this hour. Ukraine has been lobbying, as you know, for a long time to allow the use of these kinds of missiles, but Biden has specifically prohibited their use since the start of the war. It marks a major escalation in this conflict, and it comes just hours after Russia launched one of its largest missile attacks against Ukraine in months, targeting power plants and energy infrastructure across the country. So joining me now to talk about this is ABC News senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez, along with ABC's Patrick Reevell, who is inside Ukraine for us. Patrick, I want to start with you. This seems like a major shift in the Biden policy right at the end of his presidency toward Ukraine. How did we get here?
Hi, Phil. Yeah, I mean, this is significant. Two U.S. officials have confirmed to us that President Biden has now authorized Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles inside Russia. These are long-range, powerful missiles with a range of 190 miles and very powerful warheads. And Ukraine has had them for some time, but has not been permitted to use them inside Russia for many months, despite pleas from the Ukrainian side to be allowed to do so, because the Biden administration has been concerned about escalation. Now, clearly, that has now changed tonight. I think there is one very important caveat, though, that we are seeing indications that the authorization is only going to allow the ATACMS to be used inside Russia's Kursk region, which is the border region where Ukraine seized a foothold back in August with its surprise offensive. We understand that is likely that there may be only the permission only being allowed to let Ukraine strike there rather than a broader authorization, which is what Ukraine had been seeking. We've heard a confirmation from one Ukrainian official saying that this is a partial green light, but not entirely what Ukraine was asking for. I think one of the reasons we're seeing from the White House why Biden has made this decision, in part, is because of the appearance of North Korean troops inside the Kursk region. We know that there are thousands of North Korean troops there taking part in an offensive with Russian forces trying to drive Ukraine out of the Kursk region. And it appears that in part this decision to allow Ukraine to now begin striking inside Russia with ATACMS was driven by the fact that North Korea has now joined the war much more directly, Phil.
Yeah, well, that is an important caveat, if that's what you're hearing from your sources, that it's going to be a partial green light. Louis, the timing of this decision is certainly notable, given that President-elect Trump is set to take the White House in just a few months. What are you hearing from your contacts at the Pentagon? This must be a bit confusing, especially in these last 2 months of this presidency.
Well, Phil, officially, the Pentagon is not saying much at all about this. They're not confirming this report officially. But one of the things that you can gather, as you mentioned, it's 2 months left in the administration. And one of the things that's really important right now is to not prevent this situation from escalating, because as you have all this talk about potential peace talks should a Trump administration, when they come in very early on, then what are the benefits? What are the losses in terms of who gains territory, what territory must be given back? And right now, Russia has the upper hand in some of these areas, particularly in Kursk and other parts of eastern Russia, eastern Ukraine that they've seized. So potentially, I think what you're looking at right here is a tactical response, try to get push back the Russians as much as possible so that they don't make any further gains. Now, one thing to point out, these missiles can be fired from deep within Russia, inside Ukraine, and the long range will then strike inside of Kursk. So potentially it's not that they have to be right inside of Kursk or that they have to be right on the border. It affords a little more safety for the launchers. But I think it really is all about the tactics right now and ensuring that Kursk doesn't fall to Russia, particularly now that you have North Korean forces engaged. And this is already turning into a much broader conflict just by the mere presence of 10,000 North Korean troops inside of Kursk.